Welcome back to the Hitchman podcast. We are shooting here live in New York City. We got my boy Lucas back on. He made it back for episode 2. I think we're gonna have to I
Well,
think the
part
listeners
two
part
of
2, but also I think
me
the
being
listeners
here.
are gonna have to kind of comment in if I loved our episode together. So I was like, he has to come back on. So I think we're gonna have to the listeners are gonna have to kind of send in some comments or things of maybe we can make this a regular thing.
I have not heard our last podcast, so I'm kind of nervous. What did I talk about?
You were amazing, and our energy is
Okay.
so good. I feel like I'm happy to have you back. So thank you for coming back
Thank you
on.
for having me back.
Today we're gonna really talk about some things that I think we all are really dealing with in the dating world. This is the Hitchman podcast where we talk about love and relationships and kind of getting from date 1 to date 2 to 6 months to a year to marriage. And today we're really going to break down, the beginning stages of dating. We talked about first dates already, but now it's going to be really once you've gone on that first date or second date and you're starting to get comfortable with a person, when is it too much to be spending too many dates together or too many days in a row together? How do we find that balance between seeing each other enough, but also finding that space of missing each other and time apart to, to talk to each other and from a distance and to feel those feelings that we have when we miss someone? So we're really going to talk about that today. And then the next part we're really going to dive into is kind of the idea of how we're showing up to dates and our energy and our style and our outfits and photos. Because in 2024, we really live in this world where in the dating apps and the matchmaking world, it really does go off photos and it really goes off that first initial photo that someone sees about you. And I think a lot of my clients have been dealing with this, how do I pick the photos that I'm putting out there, and how do I, especially when I'm showing up for first dates or second dates, how do I dress? So I think it'll be kind of a fun moment. Lucas is my style icon, to be honest. He has lived in the fashion world. We met in Milan Fashion Week, and he is someone that I look up to, and he's just so cool. And his closet is I go into his closet, and I'm like, I want everything in here.
I feel like I'm blushing so much. But yeah, I appreciate that. I love fashion, but I love fashion as me exploring who I can be and want to be at certain times.
Yeah, but that's really, I think, what fashion really is all about. And I think for me, I grew up in Buffalo, New York, and we talk about me being a soccer player, and I was very into Nike and Puma and that idea of fashion, and which is cool and nice. But I think moving to New York when I was 21 and becoming a model, I really was then brought into this whole other world of fashion, of couture and high ends and these brands that were dressing me and doing photo shoots for, and I was like, who is this new person? And I remember, and I think the one thing I really loved about modeling was I was able to transform into someone else. And when I was on set, I really put myself into this thing of okay, put away that guy from Buffalo, New York that played soccer and really think about the person that you are in these clothes and how you feel in these clothes and how the clothes make you feel. And I think that's something we're really going to dive into. I have a lot of questions for you in that sense because
I
my
have a lot of
clients.
questions to you.
Oh, I like that. I really like that. Okay, so let's start off first with talking about that transition between first dates, second dates, third dates, fourth date, and then 6 months. And because we all deal with these moments of when you're dating in the early stages and you're trying to figure out am I texting them too much, or am I available too much, or am I planning things too much, and what's that back and forth kind of energy happening. And for me, I think I'm going to start off with a little bit of advice just for everybody out there. I think it really also has to go with understanding who you are in a relationship and what you bring to the table. So if you're the planner, if you're the one that's gonna be, and we talk about being the gardener and a flower, if you're the person that loves to plan dates, that you are taking on that role of being the one that leads in that part of your relationship, I think it's okay to kind of in the beginning stage, identify that of I think we've been talking about this a lot with you as well. You live here in the city and you like to kind of have people over to your apartment rather than going to their apartment. You just like to be at home. I think it's great that you love to be a host. You love to kind of bring someone into your space and create like good energy and
Yeah.
make them feel like they're at home. Because there is that weird stage we all in starting of dating where you're like, you're staying over and you're like in the morning you wake up and you're like, okay, should I just like pack up my bag and leave really
Yeah.
quickly? So if you're someone that's like a caretaker, if you're someone that like likes to make your home feel like a home, I think it's okay for you to lean into that, right? Of being like inviting them over or kind of running that early stage of the relationship of, hey, like I'm busy this all week, but like on Friday night, I would love to have you come over and stay over and let's do dinner and stay over and kind of creating like a space that's comfortable.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it'll be kind of cool for you to kind of like share a little bit kind of what you've been going through in this early stages of like dating and that like that process and mentality you've been going through.
So I think the last time I've been on here, I spoke about my little kind of rendezvous I had over the weekend. I think that was like a while ago now. Like how many weeks ago? 2, 3 weeks ago. It's been a while now. And so him and I shared like great connection. He came over. It was like mutual good energy. Like we both enjoy each other's like energy a lot. And so it kind of transitioned into us, talking more, us sort of trying to like make more plans of seeing each other again. And so he came over twice and then a third time. And then by the fourth time, I was like, okay, this kind of feels like a lot now. Like even though like I loved having him over, I felt like also I wanted to like be able to like miss him not being there. And I think we kind of rushed it to
Yeah.
where now I'm like, I think I need a break.
Little space.
Yeah, I think I need a little space. Um, but great guy, great vibes. But I think what's also really important is I don't feel bad about me taking my time as well and my distance and my privacies, because I think when you start seeing someone over an app or over like any other kind of way of like meeting,
Yeah,
it's always like important kind of setting your
of
boundaries
course.
and telling the other person how you feel and what you're kind of looking for. And I told the other person, hey, I'm like looking for fun and nothing too serious. But I'm someone that will never ghost, that will always be super transparent with how I feel. And
I think being back in New York, you've been here a bunch of times, but this is the first time you're kind of settling here,
yes,
right? And I
yes.
think, I have clients that are also like new to the city and they're like trying to, navigate dating in New
Hmm.
York City. I think it's something that you kind of get to give your feet on the ground. You always give your core values, right? We talk a lot about
Yes.
that as like friends and like we come from families that are like it's about family and like eventually that's both what we want is that the marriage and the kids and that. And I think so
And
a
I
long
always say that as well. I always mention that too. I'm like, hey, like I'm definitely here to like enjoy myself, but I'm also, my values are like family and kids, and
and I think that's good in the beginning to like identify that.
I bring it up. But
Yeah.
the boundary is I am here actually right now. The moment is just enjoying each other's company.
Yeah.
But if this kind of leads to more, then great. If not, then hey, we're like amazing, like F buddies, you know what I
But I
mean?
think that's really how a lot of relationships start though. I think that's the
Yeah.
thing I really talk about with people is like on first dates, it doesn't have to be heavy, right? It has to be like, hey, this is who I am and these are my core values. But like, let's just get to know each
Hmm.
other. Let's have fun with this first and second date. And I
Yes.
was just like talking to my client about this is I think sometimes she sits at a date and she's like, bop, 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 and has so many questions about the future. And she actually like is really funny. And she has an amazing personality. She's bubbly. She's funny. And though that actually doesn't come out because she's so concentrated on like an hour and a half of like, what I need to get all this information about this person. And I'm like, you don't have to. Because also sitting in that person's presence will tell you a lot. Even the moments of you guys not talking or, we talk about before, like, when I was dating, I actually enjoyed that like awkward silence sometimes of like letting that person just like feel my energy and I feel their energy. And there's kind of something like really beautiful about that because like I said, and we talked about this early on in dating, you're not gonna like everything about the person, right?
Yeah.
And like especially when you're both are a little uncomfortable, it's like how much can I share? How much can I not share? Can I like say like, okay, you're chomping your gum way too loud right now? on date 2, you can't really say that because it's
No,
gonna make you feel
no,
weird. But like,
don't do it.
yeah, you know what I mean? Like, just suck it up for that moment of
I
like it's
think you have
annoying.
to be able to like feel energies, and you have to be able to like read energies to kind of step a foot forward to how this is going and what you think this might be like in the future, you know?
That reading energy thing is something we talked about on first dates, and I work on this with my clientele.
Energy is like a big thing for me.
Yes, when you're sitting across from somebody, you also the idea of how you create a great date is feeling how they're feeling. If they're feeling nervous on a first date, leaning over and being like, "I got you. Like we're
Yeah,
here together. Like I'm also really nervous today too. Like I think you look great. I think like
yeah,
and like let's just enjoy each other's company." Those little moments where you kind of like are real with someone, they make all
for
the
real.
difference because
Yeah.
it's like and then but because then if like the person's like a little like nasty back to you, like, oh, that's not your person. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? If being vulnerable, like, hey, I'm nervous as well, and I can kind of feel that we're both like a little nervous, that's
I'll just
real.
make like a silly joke if it starts off being a little awkwardish because we both don't really know how to begin a conversation because they're both maybe shy. I'll just make a really silly joke. I think that always opens up to
That
conversation.
helps. Yeah.
And also again, like that's just a feeling thing, right? Like I am big again, like I'm big on energy, and I can tell right away if I like someone's energy or not. Like, and so usually if I do, I'll I'm like I'm not a people's pleaser, but I will want to make sure that the person I'm kind of sitting,
Feels
yeah,
comfortable.
feels comfortable. And so like I'll make everything to make you feel comfortable
Yeah.
and for you to be able to like open up and like share your feelings and share how you actually like feel like in the moment. So like that's a huge thing. Like energy is such a huge thing.
I think that that's something to kind of bring it back to you because I think what you just said is really beautiful. And I think that's what makes you, and eventually when you're ready for that, is going to make you an amazing partner. You're a caretaker. You really are a
Yeah.
caretaker. Whenever I come to Paris, now even still, I just was like traveling to Paris. You just like love to help people and their
Yeah.
experience. That's such an amazing quality. That's something that I think like don't ever lose that. It's really beautiful. I'm sure you probably learned it from like your family or your mom or like you have that caretaker ability to be like, hey, like I think you should do this or do that or do that. And you know what I mean? Like I got here, let me make a reservation for you. Let me like
I think it's
recommend something to
I
you.
think it's also because in I've been in a position where I can tell that there are people that are not caretakers and how they can make you feel. It makes you feel like horrible. And I don't want to be that person that makes the other person feel like they're not taken care of. And so I don't know. I just, because I know how I don't want to be treated like and how I don't want to feel. So I want to make sure that the other person feels the way I would want to be
Treated.
treated,
Yeah.
And
Treat people
so,
the way you want to be
yeah,
treated.
so I'm big on that. So, I mean, I would always make sure that even if I'm on a date or if, I don't know, the person comes over, like I'd rather ask too many questions than too
Too little, like
little
not
because
enough.
I want to
Yeah.
make sure like the person is actually comfortable. And if I want to give the person the opportunity to say either like actually I'm not or I am or this is just fine. I know this might be annoying to some people, but if then the other person gets annoyed by me trying to make sure that they're okay, then obviously it's not the right
It's not the right
match.
person, right? And it's
But
also
yeah,
there's power and that's who you really are. And that's what you're gonna bring to a relationship. And I think I talk about this a lot. Is like you have to be able to identify as a person dating or in a relationship or in a marriage. What are the things that I'm really great at? These are core values that like I talk about a ton in the Hitchman with my clients. Is like, what are the things that you bring to the table? What are the things that you're really great at? You have to be able to talk about that and identify that to your partner and make it kind of very like open and honest. Where like, hey, I like to do these things. These are the things that make me feel empowered. So, like, how do you feel about that? Like, how do you feel when I am trying to take care of you, or when I'm trying to plan a date, or when I'm trying to be funny because I want to lighten up the situation? Like, is that cool with you? Like, because for me, that's what I really like about myself, and those are things that I bring to the table. And I think that communication really helps also understand the person sitting across you is also nervous. And when you give those moments of like, hey, I'm being vulnerable right now, that opens that slate for them also to be vulnerable back to you. And when you're vulnerable in a relationship and you really share who you are, that's what's really beautiful about love. And I think I talk,
that's also gonna make the other person like fall in love
of
with,
course,
you, like your traits, your character, like your upbringing, just like yourself, like putting yourself out there is like, that's what's gonna like make someone fall in love with you,
Of course,
you
and your
know?
personality. And
Yeah.
I think my grandparents were like, I always saw this in them, and I think as I'm getting older, I'm realizing also through this podcast and people are reaching out of like my grandparents in our town were like always trying to, help progress, but also take care of people in our town. They were big into that idea of like caretaking, and there's no better feeling, I think, being in a relationship, someone that's like a long-term relationship guy, when you guys can like take care of each other differently.
Yeah.
My love languages are one thing, and like I want my partner's love languages to feel like I'm recognizing them, and then I can, giving a hug, giving a like that. If you love physical touch, making sure during the day I'm checking in and being like, here's a hug. Like, you know what I mean? As a businessman, and as like the Hitchman is growing, I'm like, it's been wild. Like, I'm been traveling a ton, and like I have now clients in, Europe and Paris and London, and like it's the time zone, and it's I've been working nonstop. But as a partner, I still have to then like take a moment and be like, okay, shut off my phone, take a moment and like check in with my partner and show them my love languages, or take care of the love languages they need. And that's really what is a sweet sauce in a relationship, because it's living in 2024. I think we all are stars, and we all love our Instagrams, and we love like who we are, and we love this swagger that
I
we
hate my
have.
IG. I hate my IG.
No, your IG is so good. I
I
mean,
know, I hate
you're
it.
private, which is nice. Like, I think that's, you like that. That's very you.
But I keep on like deleting
I
things
know, I
off my
see that. I
on
see you
my
doing
IG. It's
that.
like 6,
Yours is like
5,
Bottega
4,
show,
3,
Louis
2.
Vuitton
It's so
show.
embarrassing
It's like
though. It's like,
Gucci
no, it's not
show.
embarrassing, but it's like,
No, it's so
I
good.
figured like when I look at my IG, it's just like fashion shows. I've
Yeah, but
been
that's
to. But
amazing.
it's so weird because my life
Yeah.
consists of so much more. But then I think I don't want to share like my I don't know what I do on a daily basis, or like I don't know,
Well, you're
like
not really an influencer
I'm not an influencer, and I don't really like
because you're more private.
IG. I'm like definitely more private. Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I think this is also like a really good like way to then like, let's now talk about our second part. So I think to land the plane, which I always talk about, I think early on stages, it's finding your boundaries. I think that was a really great word that you said, finding your boundaries, to also miss the person, to feel like, oh, like I've spent maybe this week 3 out of the 7 nights with them, and it's a little too much early on.
Mhm.
But like, and I want to take a week where I'm not like dating other people. I'm just kind of home in my own self-care moment.
Okay, but can I ask you a question?
Of
I
course.
think I meant to ask you this question like a while ago already. And so it goes back to like the person I was seeing, and I was head over heels. I mean, as we all get, at the beginning we start seeing someone, get super excited, and the first like 2, 3 kind of like link ups or meetups or whatever you want to call them, in my world are like very exciting, right? And you miss them and you want to like spend the next day with them, and the following day, and then all of a sudden like all this magic just like, like it just disappears, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm actually so tired of this person. How how am I gonna like communicate this without upsetting the other party, but still trying to be honest. And so so like I need to ask you, like, what would you recommend, like, or what is the approach on like starting to see each other? Like, is it healthy to see each other night after night, day after day? Or like, is it healthy to kind of keep a certain distance between like the
Yeah.
first dates? Like, I don't know, because like I'm someone that if I
You want to
like
see
you,
them.
and I
Yeah.
want to see you tomorrow, and I want to
Yeah.
see you the day
Yeah.
after tomorrow. But then
I'm like that too.
but I figured like, oh, this might actually not be healthy. But then maybe also that's just a sign that the
It's
other
not the right
person is
person.
not the right person. So I'm
Yeah.
just trying to like, I don't know, I'm just trying to like understand what's the right approach. Like, is there a right approach?
I think it's case by case, right? And I think it
Yeah.
really depends on also your lifestyle, and like
Hmm.
also it's the idea of creating space. If your work is super heavy, and that, if you're like, I'm working 12, 14, 18 hours a day, a date after a long day is probably not the best idea. right? You want to also like create that space between having the energy to show
Yeah.
up and show up 100%. So that's, I think that's one aspect of like people living in New York City that are working a lot. Don't go on a date after like 18-hour day and you're exhausted. Just be like, hey, like not the right time. Also, then the second part of this is I think it's okay to create boundaries. And as you're someone that's like into health and into fitness and like you like your regimen, if someone's sleeping over 3 nights, 4 nights in a week,
Yeah.
your sleep pattern's off and your everything is off. It's okay for me to take a week to kind of be like, I need a reset.
But I
And
think that's great. I think that, but that really helps. For example, if you have like a friend, or what you do with the hitchman, it's like you kind of help guide,
yeah,
your clients on how to navigate this whole dating situation. And so you don't want to be this annoying person. Ask your friend or like your friends, like, hey, should I text him, or
yeah,
should I text her, or like what should I do? And I would love. I mean, I don't even like bother you with all of this stuff, But I think that's so great because I can see.
you get the friends and
I
family
know, but I can see
discount.
how like you help navigate all of your clients, and it's like such a healthy. It's like having a therapist kind of like on
Or
call, like, hey, am I gonna like text this person, or should I give it a bit of like
yeah,
time and space, and see how end of the week looks, and give also some time to myself to understand, is this person someone I actually really like, without kind of overstimulating like the energy exchange, you know what I mean? Because
of
like
course.
sometimes we forget to take time for ourselves to kind of process, okay, there's energy exchange, and
Of
I
course. And
think
it's a
it's
lot.
important to kind of actually keep distance. Like I was always a big believer in, if you want to see the person, see them as much as you can, as you want at the beginning. But I think now kind of also growing
And getting older.
older, and also like
Experience.
experience and being more here in New York City, I think it has like shown me that
You're finding a balance.
finding a balance is really important. Like just to help navigate like
Of course.
all of
And Ariana
all of
Grande
it.
has a song about it, right? It's like I want to be able to have that time to think about the person that you're dating when they're not with you, and like that feeling of missing them
Yes.
is actually really beautiful.
That's
Um,
that's exactly what I was going to
yeah,
say.
and I think it's something that it then also then tells you a lot about how you feel about them.
Yeah.
If you're like, oh, I'm not missing them after not seeing them for a week, that's gonna tell you something. Because it's like
Yeah.
in the beginning stages, like if you're really smitten by someone, you have the butterflies. You're waiting for your phone, and you're like, when they text you, you're like, oh
Oh
my god, it's
yeah.
exciting.
Ugh,
Like,
it's
we all have gone
terrible.
through that.
We've all
So
been there.
I think you're doing. I think taking space right now is really okay, and prioritizing yourself and your mental health. I'm not saying go on a bunch of other dates because I don't really like. I think that's a balance between like. I think
No.
dating
Yeah.
intentionally for me. I talk a lot about this with Hitchman is dating intentionally. We're not out here dating 8 people at the same time.
No,
You're
we don't.
dating and you're going on dates with people that are are people you could see yourself maybe eventually with, and then giving them an opportunity to.
And then honestly, I think right now this is something everyone's saying. I think opportunity. I don't know why this just like went through my head. Like just also giving someone the opportunity to either like come back, or just in general, like giving the other person like an opportunity is such a big thing. Like it's say, I'm just gonna make it about me right now, because I don't know, it's just what makes most sense, because I'm in this situation. I'm not really interested in seeing this other person again, because I think we've had a great time, but I don't really see how this can go any further. Even if it was just like purely like fun, and there was nothing serious about this, I don't really think it's
It's
like,
not husband
yeah, it's
material.
not husband material for me. That I don't want to like explore this any further. But I can totally see how he wants to see me again, how he wants to like get together, and
So we just like this is called, this is the idea of what it's like we just talked through this. And like sometimes I think also that thing too is we have so much in our head. There's so many things going on.
yeah,
And it's
but
like you want to be able to talk to someone really about what's going on and
yeah,
like get feedback, right? It's like get feedback that also isn't biased, because I think sometimes what happens, and I hear this is like with clients is like, well, my friend told me this. I'm like, well, yeah, your friend is also like
Don't
on your
always
side.
listen to your friend, guys. Like, it's
Your
also,
your friends are also always usually on
yeah,
your side, which is okay.
they're actually the
But I like
worst
I
people
always
to
say,
ask.
there's three sides to every story. That's your side, their side, and the truth. And the fun thing about what I do as a matchmaker is I get both sides, right? When someone's going on a date, when someone's or like I'm representing both clientele, I know both of people are from both sides. So it's like if a random, I'll just use a random name. This is not a real person. But if Jenna is always like, I'm amazing. I do everything amazing. My dates are amazing. Like it's all on the other person. I then get the feedback from
Oh.
Joe, who Joe's like, Jenna just talks about herself the entire date. And it's not fun. And I feel like I'm on a date with her and that she's just talking about herself. So that's the side of feedback, right? And the idea of being able to talk it out. That's something that I have found when I first started my company. I was just doing the matchmaking side of it. And I think that's where the T behind, like, I've had a ton of people calling me from these other big matchmaking businesses around the city, around, and all over the place. And they're kind of trying to like dive into my secret sauce. And I'm like, you know what? Listen, you can try to like, but you can't. What really emulates and what makes my Hitchman, unique is me. It's this like this story that I have that we're kind of continue to kind of develop of like growing up in upstate New York with like my family in this strong valued world to being a Division 1 soccer player with like I have a family of brothers that are like still one of my best friends, and then like diving into the world as a model and like then really getting into my world of dating. I was dating and living in all over the world and like traveling, and I had crazy but also beautiful love stories that I bring, and I have really helped me, become this matchmaker that I am now and like help these people through the journey of dating because I'm here with you guys. It is not easy. Like I deal with it, Lucas is dealing with it, and like we're all in it together. I think that's a really beautiful thing about dating and love is like we're all, even though people say, "Oh, I'm not looking for it," we all really are looking for it, right? That's our insecurities talking, and like we're a team. We're all a team. The Hitchman is a team. We're here together, trying to just help each other along the way. So
I think we have to have more empathy for like just the people that we see and date
yeah,
and that you go on dates with, and like
and
just to,
understanding they're going through something as well.
yeah, just to land the plane. Like, for example, when I was talking about my experience, I am so happy, even though like I don't really think I'm like ready to explore any further love story with
Yeah.
my rendezvous. I'm so happy to, meet him again, but neutral sort of.
Yeah, maybe don't invite him to your apartment.
No, but like going for a walk on,
Yeah.
West
Maybe you
Side
can become
Highway.
friends.
But yeah, just to sort of bring closure to whatever this was and is, even if I don't need the closure, the other person talking about
Literally, he just texted.
text me right now.
Oh my
Oh
God, that's
my
so cute. You can
god,
hear us
it's
talking about
crazy
him.
though.
But I think, the beautiful thing about
Bringing
this,
closure.
yeah, I think the beautiful thing about this also closure and also the idea too of like,
It's like
you've
who cares?
shared some like, oh my God, it's so
So
funny. He
bad.
misses you.
Yeah, you guys. That's why I think you see if someone does that, you have to like. I think there's
Also,
some.
that's the thing, be kind.
There's a be kind to the other person. Like obviously they like you, they've enjoyed your company, and just leaving them on like
Unread or like,
even unread or like blank or just like
yeah,
don't do that to the other
ghosting
person.
culture for
Yeah, I
me
don't. I don't want
in the
that.
gay, straight,
We
and
all have
trans and
time.
just send a message back.
Just
Also,
send them
and
either
that
send a message or like see them again in person. Like that just shows so much. Just how human we all are, so I think it's important to, I'm gonna see him, like look, he texts me, I'm definitely gonna like reach out and like tell him, hey, let's go for a walk, or I don't think I'm gonna like invite him back home, but I think just
yeah,
going on a walk, and I don't know, I think
you're bringing the values, and this is the thing we talk a lot about with like the culture of the Hitchman or like what I'm building and like what I really want to bring it to culture of dating in New York City and around the world is that empathy, the
maybe I did miss
kindness.
him.
No,
Yeah.
it's the kindness aspect of it that I think that like we need to bring and we need to get back to because the world is really heavy right now, and we're all dealing with a lot of things with politics and with families and trying to really transform our country into a better space. And I think in the dating world we should really lean into this opportunity to be kinder to people. And also, it's
100%.
okay to be honest. It's okay with like to be like, hey, you weren't my exact match, but I really enjoy spending time with you, and I wish you all the best moving forward. Or you can become friends, right? I
You can
think
definitely become friends. I've mentioned that the other time I was on here. I said, okay, if you guys aren't a match in a loving way or a like, partnership, this can become a friendship,
yeah, of course.
And I think
I've had a hard time with that in the past. I think all of my exes kind of, I don't know if the word hate is the right word, but like they're not happy with me, and I've really wanted to like kind of I'm trying to get better at ending relationships, and this is like my own vulnerability sharing, getting better at leaving a relationship and being like, you gave me all of these things. I'm so thankful that I learned these things from you, and we share these memories together. And like, those are always true and dear to my heart, and those things will like die with me. It's that idea of, I think I have the interesting thing doing with clients that have like been divorced and have kids, and they're like, actually, like me and my ex are better off now. I think that's really beautiful because it's like, why are we fighting? Why, we shared times together that were really happy, intimate moments. If you went on vacation or if you went on really great dates, why can't we remember those kind of moments rather than like the anger and hate? And because I'm done with the hate. I'm
it
so
feels
done with the
like
hate.
a whole different episode.
Yeah, there's a whole other episode to
Yeah.
talk about. So let's land the plane there. And I think the next topic that a lot of my clients and people have been writing into want to talk about, like the idea of showing up to first dates and second dates and the style and like how we're presenting ourselves,
Yeah.
and like kind of what the energy gives off. I think for me, and I think what I try to tell my clients is you have to feel comfortable in who you are, but also you have to show up and look 100, right? And it's what kind of person are you trying to show up as, and what kind of energy are you trying to put out there? And also, what are you trying to attract? Because it's like, I love a glow up, and I love this idea of like, you know, coming in and being all swaggy and being all this and being that. But also, at the end of the day, you have to show up and look the part, and you have to look like who you are.
Yeah.
Because those things, like if you're dressing up looking like, you know, a librarian, but really you're like giving off this sexy energy, like people are going to read through that.
I think what's really important about, I think a lot of, it's so weird. Like I get so many questions. You're so stylish. Like, can you give me styling tips? Like, what am I supposed to dress as? Or like, what do I need to wear? And like, I absolutely despise when people ask me like for style advice, because I cannot give you style advice. The only style advice I can give you is like, feel the most confident in whatever you put on. If that's a t-shirt and a jeans, like then you're good, because I think you have to be first and foremost like true to yourself and whatever you pull up with, but also like comfortable, like there's nothing worse than like being uncomfortable. Like I know, like I've been in so many settings where I've been uncomfortable in what I was wearing that I didn't enjoy myself. But then there's times where I've been dressed up and enjoyed myself because I was so comfortable in what I was wearing. And so I think it also is so dependent on going back to dates. What does a date look like? Okay, is it a we're going for a walk date? Is it we're going to grab coffee? Is it a lunch date? Is it a dinner date? Is the dinner date at a diner, or is it at a like fine dining experience? I think it's all just very situational. And so of course, always be yourself first and foremost, but try to
Dress for the occasion.
dress for the occasion is what I'm saying.
And I agree with what you're saying. I think it's, for me,
And always less is more, by the way. Less is definitely more.
as someone like that only shows up in couture, I love that
No, but
advice
to
for
me,
people. But
less
it's
is
really cute that like you're like, I'm like, what are you wearing today?
no, but less is
Balenciaga.
more. I think less is definitely more. When I am not sure what to, because look, today
I just when less
I
is
showed
more,
up because like this is like I thought this is like a cool look.
it's a
This is a
very cool
safe
look.
space, so I was like, I'm gonna like show up feeling like a bad bitch.
Oh, I love that.
But
Okay.
if I go on a date and I'm not too sure what the other person is gonna show up in, I'd rather show up in less is more, just to be also accommodating to the other person, you know, and like, but still comfortable. My lessons more will be my favorite jeans. We all have our favorite jeans. And honestly, a very comfortable fitting, either t-shirt, hoodie, or whatever. And that to me will be comfortable, confident, and I'll shop in that. Obviously,
Yeah,
dressed for the occasion. If that is a cool dining experience somewhere in Seoul, this is how I will show up.
I agree with you on that sense, and I'm also gonna then like bring in a little bit of like what I deal with on a day with my clients because this is a huge issue. You are very blessed that like you were kind of brought up in the culture of fashion and like style and like you have that in your blood. Not everyone really knows that and has
I
like the
know.
experience in
Yeah.
that. So I think that's one side of thing I will challenge you. And I think also that I'm gonna also then next bring in your expertise. But it's for me, it's also showing up on the date and feeling sexy because dates have to feel sexy. They have to feel fun. They have to feel flirty. Like a hoodie is
Of course,
fine.
of
Hoodie
course,
is
of
fine, but I think
course.
sometimes a hoodie makes you feel a little comfortable. I want you to show up to the date and maybe be a little uncomfortable. Maybe be like a little out of your comfort zone in the sense of that you're showing up and you're trying to like look the best version of what we call hot, right? And if you feel hot dressing a certain way, then dress like that. If you feel hot in a sweatshirt, great. For my girls out there, I don't know if that's really the best way to show up to a first date is in a sweatshirt. I think
Of course
or like
not.
sweatpants, but I think showing up on a date and looking hot, looking sexy is important for my guys, for my girls. A lot of my finance bros out there, I'm like, if you buy an amazing suit and wear an amazing suit to a date. Because if that's the energy you're gonna bring. Like you're a finance guy, what you're gonna talk about, the energy that you have as a person is probably a lot of focused on energy. And girls kind of love that. Girls love, and I'm sure guys love that as well. A finance guy that shows up in an impeccable suit because they're giving off like, I am a provider, I am a hard worker. It's gonna be long hours in the office, but I have a dream to be that provider for a family, right? If you're a girl that loves to work out and you love, to be at the gym and that's part of who you are, like show that off. Show up and look sexy, look hot. Don't be slutty. Sorry, like don't show up in like with your tits hanging out, but wear up in an outfit that you look and you feel sexy. Right, and I think I love this kind of we're in 2024, and I love everyone you gotta own your body, and you gotta own who you are, and that looks differently for everyone, so
Yeah.
always, I think dressing up in an outfit that is flattering to your body type is important, and showing up and dressing in a body type or and dressing in an outfit that is flattering to you, but also makes you feel sexy is a different level, right? If you're like, I'm here and I own my body and I own what I look like and who I am, and I'm confident in it, that is a different level.
But that brings me basically back to like dress what makes you feel the most comfortable, but also the most confident. Because I think that confidence will sort of portray a sense of like sexiness,
Okay,
you
yeah, I
know?
hear that.
I think, and also like I have a lot of girlfriends that will ask me for advice. Literally, they will send me pictures and options of, hey, I'm going to see this guy tonight. And like they go to beautiful restaurants and like sexy restaurants and dim light and like kind of like romantic, and they can be like, as you said, like either tits out or like proper and turtleneck or whatever. I don't know, to me it's just, I think what's so sexy to me is when someone is like dressed up, and dressed up can be either fully covered or like showing a lot of skin, like it just whatever is appropriate in that moment. I don't know. To me, it's like sexy. I don't know what like the right definition is, and I think everyone feels different about it. But I really think again, it brings me back all the time. And I always tell that to everybody that asks me for my opinion. Try to wear whatever makes you feel extremely comfortable. Like comfortable is like
Comfortable
the
and
basis.
confident.
Yes, but comfortable will make you feel confident, and then
Yeah.
work from there on, you know? And
Yeah.
so I think if that is more covered, if you feel more comfortable and confident covered, then do that, and that will be sexy. But if you are a girly that likes to like show skin, then obviously embrace that. You know, I think it's all about embracing like who you are. And I think the more you get comfortable seeing that person, if it comes to a second date, but you're a girl that likes to be a little more like covered and show less skin, the second date will make you feel more confident and comfortable to maybe show more of yourself because you've gotten to know the person, and it's like it's becoming a safe space, you know? So I think it's always better to go safe. And, you know, again, if you're like more of a covered girly, go as you are. And then if it goes to, you know, explore more of the person you go on a second date, then you can always like loosen up, you know? So I think go as who you are
I
with a
love
little bit of spice, you
I
know?
love when we disagree on things because
Yeah.
I think I agree with you on so many like points. And I think for me, I think also dating in New York City, in the gay world, in the straight world, in the trans world, it's so competitive that when you show up, you have to be looking your best, you have to be feeling your best, you have to be on it, right? And I think that's a lot of like the work that I do with clientele, with like, you know, I just brought a client to Saks and like we did a full like outfit like and wardrobe change because she has a type, and she has a type that's like a finance guy that's this and this and this, and like she's not showing up dressing like that. She's dressing like a different version of herself. And like we all have a physical type, although it can be very different along the way. It's like we have someone that like, oh, I envision myself as, hey, I'm this girl that wants a guy that works 9 to 5, that's very stable, that is this type of person. Or like I'm looking for an artist that is more, you know, can kind of travel more with me. We all have a type in that sense. And when you show up on that date, you have to kind of be sitting across from a person, and they need to think like, oh, this person is like got it.
Okay,
This
so for like
person's
for people like watching, right? Like how are you gonna combine that at the Hitchman? Like, are you gonna give style advice? Are you gonna like what are you gonna, yeah, as you said, take them to Saks? So like it's like a whole kind of like fashion moment where you talk about
Yes.
fashion
I
and
think some people
showing
have it
up.
together, but I think it's always the idea of creating your dating strategy, right? And I think that's something that we talk about. It's like when you're going out on dates and you're trying to attract someone, you have to have a plan. And I think for me, we talk about that early on, like we talked about before with your gardener and a flower, and what you are in a relationship and what you bring to the table, and then what you're looking for, right? What are your non-negotiables? And so for me, we talk about that early on. Hey, this is my type. You know, I like a guy that is, you know, more type A, that is this, and this. And so for me, I'm like, okay, well then let's talk about the percentages of like what those guys are actually looking for, right? If you're showing up with in New York City dating a finance guy and you show up dressing like a librarian, probably not going to work. Like that's probably not what they're looking for. There's some diamonds in the rough, but if you play the percentage game, they want a girl that's showing up that like is looking and feeling sexy, because their job is very like dot 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 all day. They want a little excitement and they'll go out to dinner. You know, they want a little bit of someone that's going to be fun and going to be like talking about different things and dressing up and talking about clothes and talking about restaurants and talking about traveling and giving their brains a little bit of a different, you know, level of exploration that they don't get at work. And I think it's the same, you know, it goes the other way too with, you know, with girls. When girls show up, what they're looking for, the guy or needs to look like that. They need to be showing up, bringing together, if they're an artist or if they're a finance guy or if they're a lawyer or if they need to be showing up in that kind of energy, because people need pictures, right? They need to like see, oh, this and this is 6 months and this is a year, and like this is what that person is going to provide for me. And it goes back to the history of the tales before time, right? Of like how my grandparents were dating, and it's like people want stability, but some people also want creativity, right? And we all like different things, we all want different things, but the way you dress really tells a lot about who you are and like what you are.
Yeah, I just like disagree with a lot
It's
of that,
okay,
which
please.
is completely fine. I think it's
Yes.
also again like my dating world is like my dating pool is very different. But I don't know, I again I if I go on a date and I feel like I want to dress up, I will definitely show up looking my best, you know. But also if I think about it like down the line, I don't know, I like to keep all of that for like the future too. Like I don't know, if I think about like going on a date, I'm just trying to like fantasize. Like I don't know if like if I start seeing someone, I want to be comfortable, I want to be confident, and then the more we get to know each other, I don't know, I like to give more fantasy down the line than too much at the beginning. That's just like
Okay.
my that's just my approach. I don't know, I like to just,
I like a different approach.
yeah, I like a different approach too.
How's that working for you?
Honestly, it's putting on a spot like that. It's been honestly going well.
Yeah, no,
Great.
I know that you
I
don't have
have
an
a
issue with
lot
that because you are. I mean,
going on.
I think it's also remembering though, and this is the side of it too. Maybe eventually I'll bring you on in the Hitchman. Like you were blessed with a certain ability to understand, and you're very creative, and your imagery is amazing, right? Like you had a store in Paris that like was amazing and epic, and like your apartment is beautiful, and you just know kind of how to put together head to toe and show up like that. Not everybody has that
I mean, I
ability.
was in sweatpants the other day, going to my usual coffee spot, grabbing my usual coffee, iced oat latte, and I was in a full sweatpant look, like full sweatpant moment, sweatpants, and a black zip up hoodie. And this girl, she was like, "You look so sexy." I'm just saying, and I look apparently very sexy in my sweatpants
But
because
that's a vibe.
my ass looked really good in it. And so she was
Okay.
like, "I can tell." And she's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Honestly, I felt myself." And I was just walking on the streets of New York, really feeling the most sexy in my sweatpants.
Confident.
Yeah, because it was like that whole kind of burst of confidence that she gave me. And so I felt really extremely confident in my
This leads me
sweatpant
to another
outfit.
point. If you see someone on the streets and they're looking good, give them a compliment.
Yeah.
I love this energy. I am so about it. I
It's
like,
such a good boost
yeah,
because you never know. Yeah.
because it's like I also, just being over in Europe and then coming back, I realize this energy of like sometimes in New York, people are just zombies. They just like are walking so fast and they're just like so in their zones. And I'm not like that. Like looking around and I'm checking people's outfits out, and I'm inspired when I walk through the streets of New York. And I'm so like my IQ was way too high, and feeling what everyone is like, what's around me, and my EQ is then going off of like what's this person feeling, what's that person feeling. But I love giving a compliment to someone because I then
I
see,
agree.
I mean, and I only give compliments to people that look good. I'm not being like, I think sometimes that's that idea of like I give compliments to people I think are killing it, and I'm feeling their outfits, and I'm not fake in that sense. But when you give someone a compliment, I don't think you realize that can transform their day. Maybe they're having a bad day. Maybe they woke up and like they got bad news. Like that little compliment really changes the way people feel about themselves. And then who knows, maybe they're on a date that night and they're like, "Oh, damn, I'm feeling good because that person told me I look good and feel good."
That's what I'm
So,
saying.
dating, I mean, that's the thing too. I think dating is hard, and I don't want anyone to remember, like, forget that like we all go through these constant things of like whether we're single, when we're dating in a 6 month relationship, a 10-year relationship, a 20-year relationship, we're constantly transforming and growing. And that's really what's really beautiful about love, is that like, and then you're doing it with someone else. And we all have insecurities, and we all have this feeling of like, today I don't feel so great, so I don't know what I'm gonna be able to bring to the table. But you have a partner to lean on. And I think that's to go back to kind of what we talked about before, and like what's too early and what's too not. And like if you like the person or you don't like the person, I think it's the idea too of being kind to each other and feeling like it's okay to like be honest with them of like,
Yeah.
hey, maybe this isn't a relationship that I see going long term, but just being kind. And I think I I deal with this especially too in the gay culture here in New York City, and like clients that I work with, that they are very insecure, and they feel like when I go on first dates, I just constantly feel judged, and I feel like the person's being a little bit nasty to me. Or like if someone's not interested right away, the date is then awful for an hour and a half because it's like people do not give you a chance. And that's sad to me because also I'm like, you don't know also in that hour and a half, like what you're gonna learn,
Yeah.
and like what story this person's gonna tell you about themselves. That's also gonna help you with your own story and your own journey in dating. So I think it's that idea too, and I think this hits from like the beginning of the start of this podcast to the very end, and like things that I really are feel really strongly about in the Hitchman and dating is just be kind to each other. Like we are not kind enough, and I think as we get further and further into the future and things are going to continue to change, and dating profiles and like online profiles and Instagrams, and it's the tech is crazy now, and we're all trying to put out there the best versions of ourselves. But I think at the end of the day, it's really important to just be kind.
I agree.
I think that's really what's beautiful about the world we live in. Okay, so Lucas, thank you so much for coming on. It's been such a pleasure to have you again. I feel like we're gonna kind of ask our listeners to kind of again tell us if this is gonna be a thing that was like a regular thing, or if not. So please, chime in on what we feel about him. And
Thumbs
I mean,
up.
I'm a huge fan of him. I always love bringing you on. So thank you again for coming on.
Thank you.
This is the Hitchman Podcast.
If you want me back on here, I just saw the other day you can leave comments.
Oh,
Yeah, you can leave comments you can actually leave comments on a podcast on Spotify. Did you guys know that? Yeah, you can leave a comment. So if you want me back, leave a cricket emoji.
I love that.
I love a cricket emoji. I think a cricket emoji is funny. It's really unexpected. It's cute.
It's
It's
very
kind of like
demure.
crickets are like I don't know. Crickets are like very like unique.
Okay, now you're getting off the podcast. Okay, thank you guys for joining in with us today. Another day in the life of a matchmaker, the Hitchman. Have a great rest of your night. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Crickets.